Someday, Angeline by Louis Sachar, Chapter 20, Spoon and Prune. When Melissa arrived for her date with Abel, she found him and Gus each drinking a glass of salt water. "Now I know where Angeline picked up that habit," she said. "No, really," Abel protested. "This is the first time I ever drank it. We wanted to see why Angeline liked it so much." "And?" asked Melissa. Abel laughed. "It's awful." "I'm Gus," said Gus, as he held out his hand. "You must be Mr. Bone." She shook his hand. "Melissa," she said, "where's Angeline?" Abel and Gus looked at each other. "She's hiding," Abel said. "Oh, I hope she's not upset because we're going out tonight," said Melissa. "I don't think so," said Abel. What did she say when you told her?" Melissa asked him. "Nothing. I mean, I couldn't find her. She was already hiding." "When was the last time you saw her?" asked Melissa. "She was here when I came home," said Abel. "She was lying on the floor reading a book." "That's good," said Melissa. "I was afraid something might have happened in Mrs. Hardlick's class." "I think," Abel muttered. She's a great hider. She's in the apartment somewhere." He didn't sound so sure anymore. "Have you tried the aquarium?" asked Melissa. Abel called the aquarium. "Angeline Persepolis," he told them. "She's 8 years old, has black hair and green eyes." He hung up the phone. "They know who she is," he informed Gus and Melissa, "but they haven't seen her today." "She'll be all right," Melissa assured him. Abel wasn't worried, but that's not what he said. It was as if someone else spoke for him. Someone who was 8 years old with black hair and green eyes. "You never know," he said. "Gary," declared Gus. "She said she had a friend named Gary. How about calling him?" "I don't know his number," said Abel, "or his last name." "Boone," said Melissa. "I know Gary," she smiled. "Gary Boone." Gus laughed. "Mr. Boone," he said. Abel looked through the phone book. "There are over 2 pages of Boones in here," he said. "I can't call them all." "Wait," said Melissa. "I met his parents. What were their names?" "Oh." She put her hands on her ears and shook her head as if she were trying to shake their names out like a gumball from a gumball machine. "You'll just need to call up every Mr. Boone," laughed Gus. Neither Abel nor Melissa knew why he was laughing, but he thought it was very funny that Angeline's 2 friends were named Mr. Bone and Mr. Boone. Melissa hit her head. A name came out. "Spencer," she said, and another, "Prentice." "Spencer and Prentice Boone. Give me the number. I'll call them." Gary answered the phone. "Hello, Gary," said Melissa. "This is—" She paused. "Mr. Bone." She explained the situation to him and asked him if he'd seen Angeline or knew where she was. He said he didn't. "Have you tried the aquarium?" he suggested. "She's not there," she told him. Gary asked her what she was doing in Angeline's apartment. She told him she was planning to have dinner with Angeline's father. "With Angeline and her father?" Gary asked. "No, just her father." "You mean like a date?" Gary asked. "I guess," said his teacher. "You're going on a date with Angeline's father?" "Just cool it," she replied. "Does Angeline know?" "I don't know." She hung up the phone. "He's coming over," she told Abel and Gus, "to help look for her." That was one reason. The other reason why he was coming over was because he wanted to see what Mr. Bone looked like when she went out on a date. He also wanted to be there when Angeline found out her father was going on a date with Mr. Bone, and hopefully he'd be the one who would tell her. When Gary arrived, all 4 of them searched the apartment. "You check that side of the bed, Mr. Bone," said Gus. "Well, I check this side. That way she can switch back and forth." Gary laughed. "Okay, Gus," she said. Abel tried to organize the search very systematically. He locked the bathroom doors so she couldn't circle around them. "You sure look pretty tonight, Mr. Bone," said Gary. "Thank you, Gary," she said. "Do you always look so pretty when you go out on dates?" he asked. "Knock it off, Gary," she replied. "Don't you think she looks pretty, Mr. Persepolis?" he asked Angeline's father. Abel blushed. Fortunately, just as he opened his mouth, the phone rang with perfect Saved by the Bell timing. It made everyone laugh. Abel answered it. "Yes, I'm her father," he said. "Yes, yes." Melissa watched him as he slowly turned pale. His whole body began to tremble. The sight of him made her feel like crying. Abel dropped the phone. It dangled on the cord. He walked slowly across the room. His face quivered. Gary felt like crying too. He now wished he had never come over. He held Mr. Bone's hand. Abel opened his mouth, but all he was able to say was Mitchell Beach as he tried to fight back his tears. And that is the end of chapter 20.